His Excellency Mr. R.K. Sin, Union Minister of Power and New and Renewable Energy, who just left. Mr. Raj Chengappa, Group Editorial Director of India Today. Distinguished speakers and participants, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to such a wonderful event. I extend my deepest gratitude to India Today Group for organizing such a wonderful event. Well, before I go into India-Japan relations, first I would like to congratulate India for its huge historic success of G20 summit. Actually, I served as G20 Sherpa, as Japan's Senior Deputy Foreign Minister for 2 years, before I arrived in India as Japan's ambassador a year ago. Now, frankly speaking, everybody expected that it would be quite difficult to get a consensus for the leaders' declaration. For all the reasons you know, the geopolitical situation surrounding Russia's invasion into Ukraine. However, India did it. Prime Minister Modi pulled it off. And this is such a strong, wonderful leadership. So this is really a historic achievement by the Indian presidency, and I extend my deepest respect to India's leadership. Now, in addition to this, from my viewpoint as having served as Japan's G20 Sherpa, I highly value the following 3 points. First is that Japan and India cooperated so closely. As you all know, Japan hosts the G7 presidency this year and India G20. So Prime Minister Kishida and Prime Minister Modi personally talked to each other face to face to make sure that we had maximum synergy effects from both G7 and G20. That's one. And second, New Delhi G20 summit tackled pressing issues such as energy security, food security, sustainable development goals, climate change, we just talked about, and international health security, just to mention a few. And third, but not in the least, India's presidency succeeded in making African Union as a formal member of the G20, which in my view enhanced democratic representation in the G20 in the global balance. So today we're going to have a full day on Indo-Japan relations, thanks to the conclave organized by India Today. And as a tone setting, I would like to share with you the current status of Japan's special partnership with India, which is both strategic and global. It has 3 pillars. One is political and security pillar. Second pillar is economic and development assistance. And third, but not in the least, is culture and people-to-people exchange. And I will touch on these in this order. First, political and security. I have served Prime Minister Shinzo Abe for 7.5 years as his private secretary for diplomacy. And Prime Minister Abe had a rock-solid conviction that Japan and India, 2 countries, should play the leading role in securing peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region and the entire world. Why? The reason is that Japan and India share fundamental values of freedom, democracy, rule of law, and our two countries share strategic interests, just as mentioned by Minister Sin. So, with this conviction, Prime Minister Abe delivered an address in 2007 in Delhi entitled Confluence of the Two Seas. And his vision laid out then became in later years became known as Free and Indo-Pacific. The Japan-India partnership was drastically pushed forward by two visionary leaders, Prime Minister Abe and Prime Minister Modi. Those two visionary leaders really propelled our partnership to a higher plane, both in terms of strategic aspects and global aspects. Now, Prime Minister Kishida he has decided to build on this foundation. So he's decided to follow the foreign policy orientation of Prime Minister Abe, and Prime Minister Kishida is working very hard to further expand our special strategic global partnership. To testify that, Prime Minister Kishida has visited India 3 times ever since he took office. First was March last year. This was his first bilateral visit overseas. And then the second time in March this year, again, as G7 presidency. And of course, third and the last time was at the G20 summit. Now, Prime Minister Modi also, around the same time frame, visited Japan 3 times. First is to attend the Quad summit in May last year. Second is to attend the state funeral of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. And third and last time was back in May this year to attend the G7 Hiroshima Summit's outreach session. So you can see at the highest level, the coming and going of top leaders are very frequent. And of course, next year, India is slated to host the Quad summit. And of course, Prime Minister Kishida will be visiting India again. So we look forward to his visit again. Security cooperation has been making great progress under our special partnership, strategic and global partnership. Now, last September in Tokyo, we held 2+2 meetings. You know, the two ministers, foreign minister and defense ministers. Now, joint exercises in all 3 services, ground, air, and sea. The joint exercises have been progressing very smoothly, and for the first time this year, Indian fighter jets, Sukhoi 30 MKI, flew all the way to India, and India and Japan had the first ever fighter jets joint exercise. This is another major step forward. Now, we all know that in the multilateral framework, Malabar exercise has been going on, but it has been steadily building up and making great progress. What is more, as a new development, in September this year, we had the first ever joint services staff talks in Tokyo. And this is really befitting today because in any military thinking planning, you have to integrate all the 3 services. So joint services staff talks are very important. Now, looking ahead, in my view, the main challenge that India and Japan should tackle together is to address economic security. You know, nowadays, securities are not confined to just geopolitics. Economic security is very important because we all recognize the dire necessity to reduce our over-dependence on any one specific country. So important items such as semiconductor, critical minerals, emerging technologies, to just name a few. These are the important issues that India and Japan should engage with each other in a quiet discussion. And this kind of a quiet discussion, in my view, is not only mutually beneficial, but also strategically very important. Let me move on to the next pillar of economy. Now, the economic pillar, by and large, consists of business and investment, one, and development assistance on the other. Now, first, business and investment. JBIC, Japan Bank of International Cooperation, conducted a survey last year, and India toppled China as the #1 country where Japanese companies would see as promising country for overseas business over the next 3 years. That's one. And there is another survey. This one is conducted by JETRO, again last year, to Japanese companies operating in India. And more than 70% of the Japanese companies said they are thinking of expanding their activities in India. So those two surveys are telltale signs that what kind of huge expectations that Japanese companies are having towards India. Now, we all know that when Prime Minister Kishida visited Delhi in March last year, he agreed with Prime Minister Modi on this audacious target of 5-year, 5 trillion yen target of public and private investment and financing from Japan to India in the next 5 years. Now, this is Japanese 5 trillion yen. In today's exchange rate of dollar to 150 yen, this is roughly equivalent to $33 billion. Now, since the announcement, blue chip companies like Maruti Suzuki, Toyota Kirloskar, and Nippon Steel, which is investing in AMS India, they all came up with major new investments. So it has been 1.5 years since the two leaders announced this target, and I'm pleased to share with you that we are on track to achieve this target. Now, I have to also say that in order to further promote Japanese investment, coupled with the Japanese endeavors, we would like to see continued endeavors on the Indian side as well to improve enabling business investments. We can, I think there will be so many sessions, so many panelist speakers to talk on business, but here in Delhi, we have Japan Chamber of Commerce and Industry in India, and every year they compile their requests, and we submit these requests to our Indian counterparts. And these are not just requests submitted every year, but what is important is we engage in two-way consultation based on this report. So we are working very hard on our end to try to improve business environment here in India. So we look forward to our Indian counterparts to match our efforts. Now, in terms of official development assistance, I am pleased to share with you that India is Japan's biggest recipient of yen loan. last year, Japan extended about, in dollar terms, about $3.8 billion of equivalent of yen loan to India. And seen from India, of course, Japan is the largest bilateral donor. So roughly speaking, Japan's bilateral development assistance counts for about 1/4 of the entire world, another 1/4 from the World Bank, another 20% from the Asian Development Bank, and the rest are kind of dwarfed. So that's the sort of proportion that, so that you can see the overall picture. So Japan is doing so much to help India develop itself. And we all remember that 20 years ago, when Delhi Metro got inaugurated, it brought about Delhi Metro Revolution. So this followed the multi-Suzuki Revolution, which took place in the 80s. So 20 years after Delhi Metro created Delhi Metro Revolution, which was far-reaching, not just metro, but it impacted the way of life. So many women came to, willing to go out and work. So after Delhi Metro, in addition to the Delhi Metro, Japan is helping build subways in other cities like Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata. And on top of metros and many other projects, Japan is now moving forward with India, the flagship project of Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail. Now we are working, thank you. We are working with the spirit of one team, one project. And I hope that in not too distant future, I dream of Shinkansen running the beautiful continent of India. And I have high hopes that this will bring about third revolution, high-speed rail revolution to India. In the interest of time, let me move on. Another vision I want to share with you today is a plan that Prime Minister Kishida launched on creating a new industrial value chain in India's northeast. When Prime Minister Kishida came to Delhi, he not only had face-to-face discussion with Prime Minister Modi, but he also delivered an important address on new plans for free and open Indo-Pacific. And in his policy address, he specifically referred to India's northeast, and he placed as a major pillar in his new plan creating a new industrial value chain in the Bay of Bengal area, encompassing the wide area of India's northeast and Bangladesh. Now, JICA is developing a deep-sea port in Matabali in Bangladesh. Please remember this name, Matabali Deep-Sea Port. In 2027, this port will become commercially operational. At the same time, JICA is doing so many projects in the India's northeast for connectivity. They're building roads, they are building bridges. So Prime Minister Kishida's new plan of creating a new industrial value chain is to connect these two projects that JICA are doing in Bangladesh, in Matabali, and in the northeast. And on top of connectivity, this plan aims to invite investments. Investment is the key item. You have to somehow bring investment to Northeast. And with the new investment, generate new industry and to create new value chain. And this really is in the same orientation of Prime Minister Modi's Act East policy. Now, we have an example in ASEAN, what's called Southern Economic Corridor, which starts from Bangkok, going through Phnom Penh, finally reaching Ho Chi Minh City. It took 30 years for Japan and those countries to develop. So I'm hoping that since we have the experience and knowledge, I'm hoping that we can shorten the time. It cannot be done overnight, but I'm hopeful that we don't have to take another 30 years to create new industrial value chain. So please remember, Matabali Deep Sea Port, its opening is just around the corner from 4 years from now, and this will be the game changer. So the time to act is now. So to business leaders, please invest in India's Northeast. Now, the third pillar that I want to discuss is people-to-people exchange. Now, as we have seen, in comparison with the political and security pillar and economic pillar, this people-to-people exchange pillar leaves so much potential to be developed. And actually, Prime Minister Modi, whenever we meet him together with the Prime Minister or any other visiting dignitaries, Prime Minister Modi always speaks very, very passionately about bringing more young Indian people to Japan to study, to get training, and to work. So we have, with the Japanese government, we have a framework for technical training and also for job opportunities. Now, those are technically called TITP and SSW. But anyway, TITP is for skill training, and SSW is for going to Japan for work. Now, everybody would agree that India's IT engineers are sought after world over. But as ambassador of Japan, I am identifying as top priority areas 4 areas: caregiving, agriculture, construction, hotel service. Because Indian people are so talented, not just in IT fields. So actually, there are already early success stories. For example, in Fukui Prefecture, it's one of the 47 prefectures, they have taken in more than 10 caregivers from India's northeast. And as a result, they brought their nursing homes running capacity back to the full. And they are loved by the elderly people, Japanese elderly people, because grandpa and grandma in Japan, they all say, oh, Indian caregivers are so cheerful, so kind, so caring. So as a result, they made a local news in Fukui Prefecture. Another example is agriculture. In Kochi Prefecture, this is another prefecture, they took in, for the first time, Indian people, and the company is so happy that the governor of Kochi Prefecture came to know. So the first 2 people actually met with the governor of Kochi. And now Kochi Prefecture is keen to introduce more Indian people to Kochi Prefecture. So my embassy, since all the work leading up to the G20 summit is thankfully over, we can devote more focus and more time in promoting young Indian people to go to Japan for skill training and job opportunities. So we have started a brand new endeavor to engage with each and every 47 Japanese prefectures online and explain the wonderful young Indian talented people's reserves, what they can do, and try to match potential demands with potential supply. This will take time, but in my view, this is the way forward. Now, another aspect I want to promote is university students. Now, I was surprised to find out when I came here as ambassador that Indian students studying in Japan are only 1,500 people, and it is dwarfed by the students studying from Nepal to Japan. It's 24,000. So 24,000 against 1,500. It's less than 1/10. And I couldn't understand why. India is a great country. India had so many young, talented students. So you know, I wanted to get to the bottom of it, and as a result, everybody said, you know, ambassador, language is the biggest barrier. You know, Indian people are so fluent in speaking English, so naturally they want to go study in America or in UK or somewhere else in Europe. You know, not many people speak Japanese. But my submission is that India's people are so talented with languages. You know, from very little, you learn your father's language, your mother's language, and in addition, you learn English and Hindi. So learning one additional foreign language is relatively easy. That's my observation as ambassador in the last 1 year. And also in Japan, there has been a new development, I would say, in the last 10 years. That is, many universities came to offer degree courses in English. So if you want to take master's degree or PhD degrees in Japan, you don't have to speak Japanese. You can take all the courses in English and get master's or PhD degrees. So I want to, you know, raise the awareness of such a major change in Japan. So more and more Indian talented students want to come to Japan to study. You don't have to speak English to get master's or PhD in Japan because they offer all English courses. And tuitions are much less than, let's say, in America. So the embassy will tie up with the office of Tokyo University in Delhi, which is tasked by the Japanese Education Ministry to promote India's university and master's, PhD students, potential students, going over to Japan to study. So we will try to have more communication with young people. Last and final is the tourism. This year is the Japan-India Tourism and Exchange Year. And I just want to share with you that if you are students, you can get a visa relatively easy because we have a relaxed scheme for acquiring visa for university students, graduate students, and alumni of within 3 years after graduation in India. They can just submit certificate of student status or certificate of graduation instead of, cumbersome financial documents, So that way you can get visas for short-term stay with the purpose of tourism. So I am calling on young Indian students to utilize this relaxed visa scheme. Please go visit Japan and see with your own eyes many aspects of Japan. Japan has so many attractive culture. Anime, manga, ramen, sushi, what have you, in addition to great opportunities to go there and study. So I think my time is up. So this hopefully will provide a basis for today's one-day-long, fully packed, interesting, stimulating seminar. And I hope really that through today's Indo-Japan Conclave, our Japan-India special partnership, which is both strategic and global, will expand and will be pushed into yet higher plane in all three pillars. So thank you very much.